Today on Harbor Speaks, we'll be talking with photographer Miguel Elliot, a 20-year photographer of the Los Angeles Oakland Raiders. We're going to learn how he got started, his friendships with Raiders players and staff, and some of his favorite games and memories. We'll be right back with Miguel Elliot. Okay, we're here with Miguel Elliot, and he's a longtime photographer of the Los Angeles Raiders and the Oakland Raiders, right?
Yes, with both teams, same team in both cities.
Hey, so how did you get started with this? This is a real interesting job.
It was a fun job. Let me see here. Well, after high school, I attended school at Trade Tech.
LA Trade Tech.
Los Angeles Trade Tech, yes. So I used to drive from San Pedro to Trade Tech to go to school. I was studying photography, and I wanted to kind of be a little bit more rounded. Instead of just taking pictures, I wanted to know how to produce an image and print it into a newspaper or magazine. So I started learning applied graphic arts and lithography. At the time, at the beginning of my last semester, the NFL, there was a gentleman who became my boss. He was also a student at Trade Tech, and they were looking for a photo technician.
Oh.
And this is for the National Football League, their creative services division that was based here in Los Angeles.
Oh, so you didn't start off with the Raiders, you started off with the National Football League.
I started off with the National Football League first, yes, as a 23-year-old technician out of Trade Tech. I was very lucky. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. And I just happened to just worked hard at it. You know, I really dedicated myself to photography in my last year of school, at high school. If it wasn't for photography and my love of the harbor area, I wouldn't have finished high school.
Wow!
And because of that, I was able to graduate with good grades. You know, basically because I was taking pictures, making up for the classes I didn't do well at, and I implemented I accentuated my creativity doing pictures of local landmarks like Drum Barracks here in Wilmington, the Banning Mansion, our lighthouse over at Point Furman, and it elevated my grades a little bit, and it helped me graduate from high school.
Wow! So who did you first work with at the NFL?
My first job at the NFL, our offices were located at the intersection of Westwood and Wilshire Boulevard. I worked for the vice president of creative services. His name was David Boss, and he started out as a rounds photographer, and him and Pete Rozelle were really good friends.
Wow!
And so I went way back, and I just happened to luck out. You know, I wasn't intending to be a photographer. I just wanted to work, but I was given opportunities to photograph Rams games, and then the Raiders games and some of their events, and for publication. At the time, the NFL had a monthly magazine called Pro magazine. It was their version of Sports Illustrated.
Wow! And
it was basically their demographic was people who are interested in professional football, and they wanted to see a little bit of the backstories. You know, what makes a league tick. You know, personal stories. And you know, I covered the Long Beach Grand Prix for them because they always had players driving in the celebrity race. So I got to photograph people like Joe Montana and a few other celebrities that drove in the races here in Long Beach.
So you went from Trade Tech to the NFL. Then how did you get connected with the Raiders?
Okay, well, at the time I was photographing camps, football camps held by the Rams, Ray Malavasi, and also George Allen. I got to meet George Allen early on. Wow. Covered his camp with me. You know, he was showing high school football coaches, you know, how to conduct a camp and how they did it on the pro level. And then once the Raiders came to town, I started doing the same for them. And It's kind of funny. It's a funny story because I don't know if you remember the antitrust suit. The Raiders were suing the NFL, or the NFL was suing the Raiders when they moved to LA for antitrust. And one of the marketing guys for the Raiders, Gil Hernandez, who became a really good friend of mine, asked me for my images from one of the camps. And at the time, I was kind of like very pro NFL, and I was, sporadically getting credentials every now and then to photograph football games, and he knew it. And I wanted to hold out on giving him the pictures, but he told me in a meeting, I says, if you let me hold on to these pictures, I'll give you field passes for each of our games. And so sure enough, I just let him have my little archive, and we became good friends, and I was able to establish a portfolio, build a portfolio, and that was the beginning of my career.
So what you first started, you were doing this for free then?
I was doing it pretty much for free. I was still working. I was working.
Yeah.
I was getting paid by the NFL to work as a lab tech. Everything after that was a perk. I was getting tickets for Rams games. I was get the occasional photo credential to photograph in Anaheim. And so at that point, I started, just started taking pictures and started learning. Being a lab tech, I got to handle a lot of images and artwork from other photographers and illustrators, local illustrators as well. There was one guy here from San Pedro. His name is Jim Czar, very popular, famous artist who was also doing movie posters for Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh yeah.
And I happened to see his art and handle his art, and we became good friends. We became really good friends, and we how would I say, we both worked together in producing artwork for the Raiders. Jim would paint the Raiders Christmas card, and he would use my photographs as how would I say, as reference,
Yeah.
to put in the little Christmas cards. Very whimsical, very cute, and that's how it started. So I got to do a lot of homework, a lot of research, a lot of seeing how other photographers were working, how other artists were working, and it was really cool. I actually have a picture here from one of the very first games that I took. I'm going to hold it up, and this was from 1983.
Oh, Vince Ferragamo.
1982, 83, and I happened to photograph one of Vince's games in Anaheim for the Rams, and so yeah, I still got the image, and that's why I thought I'd bring this with you and share it with you. Yeah,
That's great. Thank you very much. Look at that. Jeez. Oh, Vince. Yeah, I actually went to high school with this guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was a senior and he was in the 10th grade.
Yeah.
It's one of those guys that from the moment he walked on the field, he was a starting quarterback.
Right.
I remember that. It was just amazing.
He was great. I never got to meet him personally, but from what I know about him, I understand that he's very humble, and he's very very spirited, and he loved his community.
Yeah,
He loved his community.
Well, he got to play in the Super Bowl, and he almost pulled it out there.
Yeah, I remember watching that.
Yeah, it was a tough game. I played against the Steelers.
Yes, yeah. Well, my career with the Raiders lasted 24 seasons. It lasted from 1983 to 2005.
Now, who was the head coach when you started?
It was Tom Flores.
Tom Flores.
Tom Flores was and still is, a very great guy. I got to see several head coaches, Tom Flores, Art Shell, Joe Bugel, just to name a few. And it's quite a memory that I have, that I just happen to be very lucky and just at the right place at the right time. I worked with some greats. This is Mike White, who was also a head coach.
Oh, that's right. He was at Cal for a while too. Yeah.
Mike, and so yeah, he was. Yes, he was. I photographed a lot of black and white at the time. This is well before digital, and the demand for me was I had to turn my work around the next morning. I'd go home after a game, develop my film, make prints, 8x10 glossies, similar to what you see here. It was quite a challenge, and I was able to do it basically because I was very young at the time, and I had that youthful energy still. You know,
Well, you're trying to say you're slowing down? Is that what you're saying?
I'm trying to. What I'm going to say is that I'm glad I did it when I was young.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, I'm very glad I did it when I was young, and I was able to do it for so long. But eventually, I did transform, or fall into digital.
Yeah.
But I didn't do digital until about right before the year 2000. So I spent the better part of my career just photographing in black and white.
Wow.
Yeah, it
Wow.
was pretty good. I really got a good appreciation for that media. I never thought it would go away, but also I never thought that autofocus would be the thing either. But
Yeah, technology has really changed the photography business.
yes, it has. Yes, it has. Right now we're all photographers. You know, it seems we all are phone photographers.
Yeah, everybody has a phone. Everybody has a phone, and it seems like you can't even go anywhere without getting a picture taken of you. You know, every building has their own videos and stuff.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
So, tell me about some of the players that you dealt with. Is there anybody that stands out in your mind that you actually worked with?
I grew a really good kinship with Bo Jackson, I'd say. Every year, Bo would show up to camp, or into the season kind of late, usually around week 4 or 6, and he would always have to come in and have his headshot done. And so we kind of got to know each other a little bit, where he felt kind of comfortable being around me. And I happen to have a picture of him here with from that Monday night game with.
Oh, that's right. Him and Bosworth.
Him and Bosworth. Yeah.
Bosworth,
Brian Bosworth.
Brian Bosworth. He played for the. He played for Oklahoma, right, in college, right?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. But another great guy was Jim Plunket. Jim was a very humble guy. One of the first legends I got to meet, and we.
Oh wow!
We got to be somewhat good friends. We would run into each other at the airport after a game, and he would always graciously invite me. He says, "Hey Miguel, would you like a beer?" And I said, "Sure, Jim." Yeah, I guess he knew I worked hard too, but he was a great guy.
Well, I followed him when he was at Stanford. He was an awesome ball player.
Yeah. He's a very humble, very great guy. From humble beginnings. And this happened to be at the Super Bowl, and there's two greats here, Walter Payton with Jim Plunket, and I always remember that.
Super Bowl trophy. Yeah.
This is a Super Bowl trophy. This
Wow.
is it in black and white here, and this I took after the Super Bowl, after we won the Super Bowl 18 in 1984. I photographed this in El Segundo, and this is very dear to me because of the way that I lit it. I did a lot of research. I'm always playing with light.
Yeah.
I'm always seeing, trying to add a reflector here, or see how I could light something different. And the story behind this is I had a pup tent constructed to put the trophies in because they're so reflective. And my mother is the one that sewed it together and made it for me.
Really?
Yeah, so I just and
So you got the family involved.
got the family involved.
There you
Yeah.
go.
And when Mr. Davis saw this image, he looked at me and he smiled, and I was in my other boss's office, and he says, so I guess this is the image that iced my relationship with the Raiders, because I had no idea if they were going to pick me up in 1984, but they decided to go on ahead, yeah, just swing them along.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now it's your work that's actually
Right.
getting you more work.
Pretty much, and I still have friendships from those days. A few of the players, they call me by name, and they reach out to me occasionally for images. I have a really strong friendship with a lot of the old cheerleaders too. Well, I just did a TikTok video for them. It was a dance video a few weeks ago for the kickoff weekend at the NFL. And that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of work for a lot of fun. I think we did like maybe 30 takes on a 30-second clip. But that's just the way filming is. Sometimes you got to go for perfection. You know? When you're doing sports, though, you don't always have that chance, because you have to kind of anticipate the action, know how things are going to go. When you're able to do a take or two or three.
It's not like modeling, because you can, okay, let's take that shot again. Let's take that shot again. In football, everything's different every play, you know. So
pretty much, and yeah, I was really lucky. I got to photograph some great players, and Timmy Brown, Jerry Rice. This is a typical of a headshot that I did. It took me a while to get Jerry's done, because he had to have his hair done just perfectly. So it took about 3 weeks for me to get that. And so
he was real famous for the 49ers, and then he played for the Raiders too. And,
right.
But the guy, I never thought his career was ever going to end, because he just seemed to be the perfect receiver to me.
Right. There's a saying that once a Raider, always a Raider.
Oh, yeah.
I thought when I finished that I was going to be able to walk away from it, myself, even though I wasn't playing, but I was photographing. And I've done it so long, and I did it at home and away. Basically, it was like joining the circus. I was flying on their charter. I was riding on their buses. I was riding on Mr. Davis's bus, and they would take me to their games here at home and their games away, and it became a lifestyle. Mr. Davis used to say that the love of the Raiders is global.
Oh yeah.
It's not just contained in the United States of America, but it goes out beyond our borders, and there's a lot of other players from other countries. For instance, we do have players from Mexico. We do have players, I believe, from maybe from Britain. We might pick up a place kicker from soccer from Australia or somewhere like that. Someone that plays football, soccer. But the marketing devices of the NFL is global.
Yeah, it was amazing to see that, especially the Raiders. I mean, they've got legendary people. I mean, Matusak and the man Stork. And you always remember those days.
Right.
As a kid, I was really in awe by those guys.
Right.
And you actually got to work with some of them.
The Raiders always brought along their legends. I got to meet Jim Otto, Raymond Chester. Let me see. I want to say Pete Banaszak, Jack Tatum, and they would always come around and speak with the younger players, and they dubbed me an honorary legend when I went to Barcelona with them, and says, "Hey Miguel, come, we need our picture taken, man. Hang out with us. We want you around." So I got to meet them, and it was a lot of fun.
These guys all look like monsters to me. I mean, I'm seriously, they were bigger than life to me, but. Here you are with them, hanging around with them.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel like a tiny guy out there?
They influenced me. They influenced me to take care of myself. So it instilled in me a way to keep myself healthy, but keep myself active, and still to this day, I couldn't have done it if I was out of shape.
Wow. Wow. It's just amazing what goes on when you get the right situation at the right time in the right place, and geez, that must have been great for you.
It paid its dividends.
So is there any games that stand out in your mind throughout this whole time? Anything that was really, you thought was really special?
Well, I went to 2 Super Bowls with them. I went to Super Bowl 18. And that was a lot of fun.
Who was quarterbacking that one?
That was Jim Plunket. That's the game that we won against the Washington Redskins, and that was my first Super Bowl with them. But it wasn't my first Super Bowl that I had attended, because I had already attended 3 others. But that was a lot of fun. The game that affected me the most may have been probably the AFC Championship game in 2003 when we beat the Ravens to play down in San Diego. I was able to, after that game, I was able to invite my father and my daughter and some friends and some family. I was able to purchase tickets for them to go to a Super Bowl.
Wow.
And that was kind of special. Just a great memory, and just the ability to do that. But the game I look forward to, the most is probably the next game. Because the reason I say that is because my youngest daughter, she works for the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
there you go.
She went to Arizona State when she finished high school, and she met her husband there in Arizona, and he also works for the Cardinals. And she kind of found a guy like me, who's working for a ball club, doing sideline work. He does the Microsoft tablet, and he's working with the offensive. The wide receivers and the quarterbacks. And so my daughter's also helping them out too. She helps them out with their promotions, and she does some hosting for them as well on game days. So my most favorite game is going to have to be my next game, because I think that's going to be with her.
Wow.
Yeah, she's already taken me to a couple of games. She took me to one in Arizona about 2 years ago, and then she took me to a Chargers game here in LA last year.
Wow.
And it's nice, to see how I've inspired her.
So she's actually following in your footsteps then.
She's actually, yes.
That's good.
It's incredible. It really is, but she grew up in this kind of atmosphere, where Daddy had to go to work, and he'd go on a bus, and he'd jump on a plane, and he'd come back a couple of days later. For them to come and fulfill my full circle, my full cycle is really something. My first Super Bowl was Super Bowl 17 down here, 17 down here, against it was the Redskins and Miami. That was the John Riggins game.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my second Super Bowl was a Raiders game. And then the third Super Bowl was was the 49ers against Miami up in Stanford Stadium.
Wow.
Yeah, as well. They also went to the Super Bowl with them in 2003 when we ended up losing to the who was that? To the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That one, that one crushed me. I got that one out of my mind. See.
Yeah.
That one crushed me.
Right.
And I remember the old teams that I really used to really like all the legendary names and all that stuff. And it someday that's going to come back. The Raiders are going to come back with a real good team with some great ball players that you'll remember a lot more. And
I think they're on their way right now. They're developing a lot of young talent.
It takes years to build a team. I know,
Mm-hmm.
and they've got some real good ball players. Unless you're like George Allen, who used to trade for all the players, but
Right.
It takes years to build a team, especially from the draft.
And George Allen had a great theory: is the future is now.
Yeah. I mean, he wanted to get it done. He wanted to get it done now. He was real, pretty much successful at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So.
I got to work with his son, Bruce.
Bruce, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember when George was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Bruce came to me and he had me put together video clips, something like what you've done with my film and photographs
Sure.
from the fundraiser. And they played that video at his induction ceremony dinner in Canton, Ohio. And I was always kind of thankful that he asked me to do that, because heck, it's just part of to put something together like that. It's real touching, on many levels. But there's always an occasion. There's always an occasion, and not just in sports, but in life. There's ceremonies or weddings, graduations, and things like that. Birthdays, and I enjoy it.
Yeah,
I enjoy it.
That's great. I'm hoping that showing this film to other kids that they'll get inspired to do this as well.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you being here today. I could talk to you all day about sports and different players and everything, but unfortunately, a program like this has to end sometime. So we're gonna call this off for today. We hope you can come back and be on the show again sometime. Hey, well, thank you very much, Miguel. I'm glad you came today.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.